Ale poďme na to, poďme to prúdiť. Je pondelok. Je pondelok 10.8.2026. Máme PCI klikožrutov 100, 90, 80, 70, 60 klikstov. Je pondelok 10.8.2026, začíname 995. Začíname 995. relaxačný tréningový deň, je pondelok 10.8.2026, máme PCI klikožrutov 100, 90, 80, 70, 60 klikstov. Začíname 17.31, prvá séria 100 klikožrutov, 100 klikstov. Vieme to hneď rozprúdiť, ale vieme to hneď rozprúdiť. Poďme na to. To asi je 100 klikožrutov, 100 klikstov je za nami. Silná várka. Dojdeme na to. Ideme na to. Zase je. Ale na to zase 90 klikožrutov, 90 klikstov. Oh. Adesso esami. Gdje se klika, že to gdje se klikste. Musíme tohto píču sa, ideme na tretiu sériu, klikač hotovo. 80 klikov, že to 80 klikstov.
So as a Ventius enjoyer, you may have seen the news. The monster damage boost is getting changed from 50% to 20%. So in this video, we want to find out exactly what this means for your build. How much damage will we actually be losing? First thing we can do, strip down the build of any temporary effects that might boost our damage during attacking, and record our stats, track them, and input them into my calculator. First we can check our basic attacks, confirming that when we hit our target, we get critical hits of a maximum of 1,956. While heavy attack hits we're getting 2,089. We can confirm with the calculator, which means we've input these stats correctly. So we jump to testing the Eye of Ventius. We'll begin by looking at the shockwave effect. This allows us to charge up the skill and causes 6 extra hits when fully charged of 260% of base damage plus 177. So we input that into the calculator, and what we find matches what we see. Over 39,000 on the critical hits of the shockwave, and over 43,000 on the heavy attacks with the shockwave, those being critical heavy attacks. What we find is that the monster damage boost of 180%, as you see in the tooltip, also applies to the shockwave. This is on top of what the skill core gives, which is that 50%. But they're not additive, they're actually multiplicative. So that may make this change actually worse than you think. Because yes, this damage buff of 50% is a separate multiplier. On top of that, we have another multiplier, this 33%, and that's coming through the specialization charging time. So with that all calculated and checked out to confirm in game, we can then look at what happens when we reduce this 50% to 20%, giving us expected damage after the update. And we can see it is about a 20% damage nerf. We'll be going from heavy attack hits over 43,000 to just 34,000. This ultimately means you'll be dealing 80% of the damage that you dealt before the update after the update. So any hits that you see right here, you can just multiply them by 80%, and that's the new damage they'll be dealing. However, we need to confirm the actual snipe effect. This does actually
Poďme na to, štvrtá séria.
damage.
Tu sa sa klikol, že to 70 kliksterov.
60% comes from the shockwave, and you can see we can get hits of up to 218,000 there on a critical heavy snipe. And this follows the same math, and what's pretty interesting is that damage buff of 50% also applies to this snipe effect. You can see the 218,000 as we just saw in game. We can go for another snipe, we got 199,000, that was a critical hit, no heavy, and that checks out what we see here with the math. So now, after the update, when we reduce this down to 20% monster damage, it is also a 20% damage loss. Not as big as what you might think, say 50 down to 20 is actually a 30% monster damage difference. So overall you will see a drop down to about 80% of the current damage you deal through Ventius. And when you do DPS tests and stuff, you'll find Ventius is generally like 80 to 90% of your overall damage, which means for your build you should see a nerf somewhere between 15 to 18%, thereabouts, meaning you deal 85 to 90% of the damage dealt before the update, which, yes, actually isn't that bad. And of course, some of you who are not enjoying the Ventius meta, who weren't lucky enough to get the core, may still be calling for further nerfs, as this is still quite a considerable amount of damage for such an easy playstyle. What I personally like is that it revolves around a charge skill that is a big hit, which means it's very easy to deal good damage even if you have bad server connection, because this charging time is not going to change based on your server connection, versus you play a Crucifix, which requires such high actions per minute that if you have bad server
Poďme to doraziť. Posledná 5. séria, 60 klikov, že to 60 kliksterov.
you'll be dealing considerably less hits, which means people who just have better server connection straight up have a better DPS advantage. So it is good if there are some classes, they of course need to be balanced, that are built around longer charge time attacks, like this Ventius. And yeah, this update will not destroy it. You won't feel that much of a nerf. Maybe you will drop 1 or 2 ranks in your field bosses and arch bosses. It won't be so easy to get these high rank 1s and 2s without even having invested anything into the build. Like I very recently switched to the Ashen set, and that was it. I have not bought any, say, potential abilities or +1 to skills to boost this Ventius, so I'm okay in terms of lucence spent, even if they nerf this further, but ultimately I'm not overly worried about this nerf. Again, I can just get some gear upgrades, and I'll probably match the damage I dealt before the update, before the nerf. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. A special thank you to my channel members, and we'll see you guys around.
Ale je to za nami. No, je to za nami. Zrekapitulujeme si to. ...995. relaxačný tréningový deň za nami. Bol pondelok 10.8.2026. Skončili sme 17.45, segment bol dlhý, trval 15 minút a 5 sekúnd.